In the grand theater of American justice, the roles are supposed to be clear. There are the accusers and the accused, the prosecutors and the defendants. But what happens when the lines blur? What happens when one of the nation's most aggressive prosecutors, a figure who built a career on taking down powerful targets, suddenly finds herself in the crosshairs? This isn't just a story about politics. It's a story about the awesome power of the state and the profound question of who holds that power to account. We are witnessing a great reversal, where the hunter has allegedly become the hunted. And as the walls of a federal grand jury investigation reportedly close in, we must ask, is this the system correcting itself, or is it the system turning on itself? The answer could redefine the meaning of justice in our time. To understand the gravity of what's happening now, we have to go back. Letitia James, the Attorney General for the state of New York, didn't just stumble into her role as a chief antagonist to President Donald Trump, she campaigned on it. It wasn't a footnote, it was a headline promise, a core pillar of her political identity. We're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally. And she delivered on that promise. Her office pursued and won a massive civil fraud case against Donald Trump, securing a staggering $454 million penalty. The case hinged on allegations that Trump had fraudulently inflated the value of his assets, like his Mar-a-Lago estate, to get better terms on loans. It was a victory she celebrated publicly, the culmination of a years-long crusade. But even within her own office, there were signs of how subjective the case could be. Her own attorney describes some of the alleged misconduct as mere box-checking issues. This victory, however, may have planted the seeds of her own potential downfall, because now the narrative has been violently flipped. Sources deep within the Department of Justice have confirmed that Attorney General Pam Bondi has authorized and launched a federal grand jury probe into Letitia James herself. This is not a state-level inquiry. This is the full weight of the federal government. We will get to the bottom of how the government was weaponized against its own citizens. No one in this country is above the law, and that includes the people who enforce it. We will restore one standard of justice for all. This investigation is a two-pronged attack, examining two distinct but potentially related areas of alleged criminality. First, a pattern of blatant mortgage fraud for personal gain, and second, a charge so serious it's almost unprecedented, the systemic weaponization of her office. Let's start with the money. The DOJ is scrutinizing loan documents tied to at least two properties connected to Attorney General James. The first is a brownstone in Brooklyn, New York. So what's the big deal about one extra apartment? Everything. Federal lending giants like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which back the majority of American mortgages, have strict rules. They offer favorable terms, lower down payments, better interest rates for residential properties with 4 units or fewer. The moment a property has 5 or more units, it enters a completely different regulatory and financial category, a commercial property. The loans are harder to get and more expensive. Sources allege that James's Brooklyn brownstone is, in reality, a 5-unit dwelling. Yet on mortgage applications, building permits, and even government assistance filings, she allegedly declared it as a 4-unit property. Investigators who conducted an on-site inspection noted something telling: 1 doorbell at the main entrance and 4 more at a side entrance. A simple but potentially damning detail. The allegation is clear. She misrepresented her property to defraud lenders and secure financial benefits she wasn't entitled to. The second property is in Norfolk, Virginia. Here, the allegation is just as serious. James is accused of repeatedly, perhaps as many as 8 times, misrepresenting this Virginia house as her principal residence on mortgage applications. This, again, would have allowed her to qualify for more favorable loan programs. The problem? As the sitting Attorney General of New York, she is legally required to reside in New York State. Her defense has been that these were just innocent errors, a typo, a screw-up. But federal prosecutors rarely believe in coincidences. When they see the same mistake made repeatedly across multiple documents for multiple properties over a period of years, they don't call it a typo. They call it a pattern. They call it intent.
To add another bizarre layer, investigators are also looking into mortgages where James and her father allegedly signed documents identifying themselves as husband and wife, a pattern reportedly going back decades. The potential legal consequences here are severe. We're talking about charges under 18 U.S.C. Section 1014, making false statements to a financial institution. That alone carries a hefty sentence, but it could be combined with wire fraud and mail fraud if those fraudulent applications were transmitted across state lines. Legal experts say the sentences for these crimes can be stacked, potentially leading to decades in federal prison. As serious as the fraud claims are, it's the second part of this investigation that could shake the American legal system to its core. The DOJ is investigating whether Attorney General James criminally weaponized the power of her office to target a political enemy. This isn't about policy disagreements. This is about the potential violation of the most fundamental civil rights. The moment a prosecutor decides on a target before they have evidence of a crime, the process is corrupted. It ceases to be about justice and becomes a political witch hunt. That is a profound abuse of power. Investigators are reportedly exploring a novel legal strategy using federal civil rights statutes against a state attorney general. Specifically, 18 U.S.C. sections 241 and 242. These are post-Civil War era laws designed to stop officials from using the color of law, their official authority, to deprive citizens of their constitutional rights like due process and equal protection. The argument is that James's relentless, publicly stated goal to get Trump, declared before any investigation was complete, is prima facie evidence of a politically motivated prosecution. It suggests she conspired to deny him the same impartial justice any other citizen is entitled to. And it's not just about Trump. The probe is reportedly expanding to see if other targets, like the National Rifle Association, were also singled out for political reasons, painting a picture of an office used not as a shield for the public, but as a sword for the party.
The man leading this charge on the ground is Ed Martin, a special attorney appointed by Pam Bondi. Martin is no stranger to political fights, and he's taking a hands-on approach. He was recently spotted in Brooklyn, personally inspecting James Brownstone. In a moment straight out of a political thriller, a curious neighbor reportedly confronted Martin, demanding to know who he was and what he was doing. Martin, cool as ever, simply replied he was just happy to be on a block looking at a house. The classic trench coat he was wearing did not go unnoticed. But this is far more than just sidewalk surveillance. The DOJ has deployed its full playbook. First, grand juries. Secret grand juries are already impaneled in both Virginia and Maryland, actively hearing evidence and weighing criminal indictments. Second, subpoenas. They are demanding everything. Internal memos, campaign emails, private text messages between James and her staff. They're looking for the smoking gun, an email that says we need to take him down no matter what. Third, witnesses. They are counting on cooperators from inside the NYAG's office to come forward and testify. And finally, forensic audits. The FBI and teams of forensic accountants are dissecting every loan application, every bank statement, and every tax return to build an airtight financial case that dismantles any honest mistake defense. It's crucial to understand this is not happening in a vacuum. Upon taking office, the new administration immediately began a top-down effort to investigate what they see as the systemic weaponization of government. Attorney General Bondi's memo was a declaration of war on this phenomenon. This probe into Letitia James runs parallel to other major reviews, including a re-examination of the Russia investigation and the actions of the January 6th committee, which are now being framed not as legitimate inquiries, but as coordinated government efforts to manufacture a criminal case against a political opponent. This is one battle in a much larger war over the soul of the justice system. The irony here is palpable. The very statutes used to prosecute fraud and corruption may now be turned against one of the country's most prominent prosecutors. The same legal system she wielded with such force is now examining her every move. These allegations are a baseless political stunt, pure and simple. This is nothing more than retribution from political enemies. The Attorney General has done nothing wrong and has always acted with the highest integrity. Her defenders call it political payback, but legal experts argue that if the DOJ can present clear evidence of criminal intent, a clear pattern of fraud, or a clear political motive for prosecution, the charges will stick, regardless of the political climate. If indicted and convicted, Letitia James could face the end of her career and years behind bars. This entire saga forces us to confront a deeply uncomfortable set of questions. When does a zealous prosecution cross the line into a political persecution? How do we ensure that our laws are a shield for all and not a sword for the powerful? And who polices the police? The grand juries are meeting, the evidence is being gathered, the world is watching. Whether this investigation ultimately reveals a legitimate case of corruption and abuse of power, or simply becomes another casualty in our nation's bitter political wars, its outcome will reverberate for years to come. It will test the very principle that is etched in the stone of the Supreme Court itself: equal justice under law. We will continue to follow every development and bring you the story as it unfolds.